All right. Thank you, Shay. So welcome everybody to the kickoff session for Cohort 2 of the New York Psychiatric Rehabilitation Training Academy, NYPERDA for short. My name is Daniela Labate-Cavelli. I'm the Director of Recovery and Rehabilitation Services at NIAPRS. I am joined today by some folks from the Office of Mental Health that I'm going to shout out, some colleagues and coworkers from the Alliance, as well as our training partners and our subject matter experts and our advisors, as well as all of you. So I am going to start by asking Steve Roman from OMH if he wants to just do a quick welcome and just introduce yourself.
All right, thanks, Daniela. You can hear me okay?
Yep.
Oh, great, thanks. All right, everyone. Hi, Steve Roman from OMH Central Office up in Albany. I was asked just to kind of hop on and welcome everyone here and thank you for attending the virtual kickoff. We just wrapped up with a bunch of these across the state. We did a bunch of in-person kickoffs and it was really great. So many folks showed up. We had a chance to meet people and talk to people. The enthusiasm has been great. The enrollment for this cohort 2, this round of training has been amazing. And as someone who has participated in cohort 1, I just want to share, this is really a great opportunity for everyone to learn about psych rehab and really bring these practices into the work that you're doing. We've received a lot of great feedback from the folks in cohort 1. It was really a pretty big training group. It's been going on for over a year. So the training that you will be involved in has been updated a little bit. We received some feedback. So we've kind of tweaked things and we're super excited to get to get moving on this. And just, thinking about this training series and what we're offering, historically speaking, for myself at least, these are not things. Psych rehab was something that hasn't been taught in school. Things you're going to hear about, assessing for readiness and skill development and connecting to community resources. So really, I'm really happy that we're able, if everyone can please mute as well, I'm really happy to that we're able to offer these trainings. So you're going to be learning about how important implementing these practices is and working to help the folks that you're all working with and helping them move along in their recovery. So it's going to be some new language. It's going to be a new way of perhaps thinking about things, but it's all really going to make sense. Speaking for myself and having done this work a long time, there's going to be a lot of light bulb moments. You're going to be like, oh, this really makes sense to me. And I can't wait to bring all of these things. I always see it as more tools for your toolbox, bringing this stuff into your practice, the work that you're doing. And as you'll also learn about, this training counts towards the eligibility to take the CPRP exam, the Certified Psych Rehab Practitioner exam. So this is another great opportunity. Back here at OMH, we're working to see how we can incorporate the CPRP credential into our various programs. All of you are going to have this expertise in psych rehab. So we want to support and incorporate this credential through our various programs. And this is also a training that we plan to continue to fund. So there's going to be opportunities for additional training and continuing ed credits. And really, we're hoping to build a really skilled workforce in the future, again, with the goal of helping all of the folks that we work with. So thank you for joining. And hopefully I'll see folks in person or in future trainings. And I'll turn it back over to Daniela.
Thank you, Steve. So before we go ahead and introduce others, a couple of really quick housekeeping things that I forgot about. So we are recording today's meeting. It's going to be posted on our LMS, our new learning management system, and we'll get into the weeds a little bit about what that looks like during today's meeting. Please do turn on your cameras if you can, but keep yourselves muted just to reduce the background noise. Please use the chat box to ask questions or make comments. I'm going to ask my colleagues, Kirk and Britt, to help me monitor the chat box, and I'll be calling on them every so often to check in, see if there's anything I've missed. And let's see. Oh, and if you'd like to say something and unmute yourselves, please just raise your hand so that we can recognize you and unmute yourself. Because we are in the Zoom meeting platform, so we can do that as well. Okay, so let's see. My Alliance coworkers. So I know Britt, you're here today. Do you want to just do a real quick intro? Because I know we're going to hear from you a little bit later.
Yep. Hi, everyone. I'm Britt. I cover the Central and Hudson River regions, and we'll cover more about exactly what I do, but glad to be here.
And you have a coworker in Western New York, Steve Nowotniak, who I thought was not in the room, but maybe shared his link. Are you here, Steve? I saw someone
Shared the link. Yeah.
shared the link. Okay, thank you. So Steve Nowotniak is not with us today. He's out sick, but you will be meeting him if you haven't already. And he does what Britt does in Western New York. Kirk, you want to go next?
Sure thing. Hi, everybody. My name is Kirk Cooper Johnson. I'm the Senior Psychiatric Rehabilitation Specialist at InUnity Alliance, a partner organization working on this initiative and primarily serving Long Island and New York City. And I'm just going to put in the chat, if you could just let us know what program and city you're joining us from, I think that would be great. I know it'd be nice to see where everybody's from.
And Stephanie, is Stephanie on too while we're doing all the regional implementation specialists introductions?
Hi, Daniela, I'm here. Thank you.
Hello.
And so, hi, my name is Stephanie. I'm also from InUnity Alliance. I am Kirk's colleague, and I look forward to working with you. We're working primarily with New York City and Long Island, as Kirk said. Thanks.
Right. And Marissa Messiah is also from InUnity Alliance, and she'll be working alongside Kirk and Stephanie. So in addition to our regional psychiatric rehabilitation specialists, we also have a whole team of advisors, subject matter experts, and consultants that help us create curriculum and train around the region. So I just want to do a quick shout out to the folks that I know are on the call. And if I miss any of you, please let me know. Edie Schwartz, I see you right on my screen, so I'm going to call you first.
Hi, I'm Edie. It's really nice to be here. I am an advisor to the program, and you'll probably see my face on one of the webinars, I think. And also, I offer subject matter expertise, whatever is left of it in this brain, as you move along.
Thank you, Edie. Mike?
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm colleagues with Edie and Dave and Daniela as an SME as well. And my role is, as we grow the competencies here of our workforce in delivering direct services and supervisory services, is to help you as an organization to consider plan change that helps to not only cement what you've learned, but to leverage it with partners within the program, within the agency, to be able to make plan change so that this continues for years to come. Thank you, Daniela.
Thank you so much.
And good luck, everybody.
Paula. Paula was here.
I'm
Where'd you
here.
go?
I'm
Here you
here.
are.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I am Paula Fries. I am the Long Island Regional in-person trainer, and really excited to have, we've in the process of wrapping up cohort 1, and now we're already 1 year later in cohort 2, and that's really exciting. And I look forward to meeting the Long Island folks. I help you figure out how to put it into practice, the technology that you're going to be learning, and also how to operationalize it and how to help it make sense within the specific programs you work under, PROS, CORE, CCBHC, residential programs, etc. So really happy to meet you all and excited to be here today.
Thanks, Paula. Amy.
Hi, everyone. Nice to see you all and to be here with you on this kickoff for cohort 2. I echo Paula. It's kind of hard to believe that we've been at this for about a year, and I'm feeling excited for you all because you have the benefit of learning from all of the previous learners who have gone through the curriculum. So I do some of the in-person training in the New York City area. I also do virtual training if for cohort 1. I'm doing some consultation on the curriculum development and design for the Alliance, and I also serve as the project director for the Academy of Peer Services, as well as a professor in the Department of Psychiatric Rehabilitation and Counseling at Rutgers. So happy to be here.
Thanks, Amy. And we also have David Bucciafero, Tony Salerno, and Paul Margulies, who are our advisors, subject matter experts, and trainers. They do triple duty, but I don't think any of them are on today's webinar. But your colleagues came, if they came to our in-person kickoffs, they met them in the last week and a half. So I'm going to ask Shay at this point to launch a couple of poll questions that we have, because we want to know, I see in the chat box, we have lots of folks from around the state, but I want to get a little bit like of data, if you will. So Shay, if you could pull up that poll, thank you so much. We just want to know what kind of services you're providing. Are you a supervisor? Are you a practitioner? We actually have 3 questions. So if you could take a couple minutes and just answer those poll questions, that'd be great.
Well, I got it, Coder. You got it.
And want to know about your history with psych rehab and how long you've been in the field. So it looks like most folks are pros providers, followed closely by HCBS and Core, and then a few supervisors and a couple CCBHC providers.
Okay, they can't hear, I'm muted.
And almost a 50-50 split, almost actually, around knowledge of psych rehab, or exposure to it, I should say. And let's see here. Most people fall into the 1 to 3 years in the field category. Oh, maybe not, followed by more than 5 years. Okay, great. Thank you for that. All right, so let's get into today and what we're going to talk about, because our time is quite limited. So we do have a slide here with all of our partners. We could not do this without all of our partners. Folks, just a reminder to please mute yourselves if you're not speaking. So a couple of shout outs here. Actually, I'm going to go through the whole list really. So McSilver Institute, McSilver partners with us on a couple of fronts. First and foremost, they lend us Tony Salerno, who is the subject matter expert and one of our advisors and a trainer for us. You also know, if you're in the room today, that you registered through the McSilver website. So we do get some assistance from McSilver for back-end registration and some data collection. Center for Practice Innovations lends us Paul Margulies. I know most of you probably know Paul if you're a pros or a core provider from CPI and your work with Paul. He is also one of our subject matter experts, and he trains in the Hudson River region, and Tony trains in the New York City region. You met the staff from the Alliance. Boston University is our largest partner. Boston University lends us many of their staff in terms of creating training curriculum, providing training, and they're doing the supervision training is actually delivered by Boston University. So I always say, what a gift, because they wrote this stuff. And Unity Alliance supports the downstate regions of New York City and Long Island in the same way that the staff from the Alliance does for upstate regions or rest of state. CCSI gives us Lenora Reed-Rose, who's the subject matter expert in equity and justice initiatives. So she helps us kind of look at our curriculum through that lens. She also provides a webinar for us. And then CCSI helps us on the back end with evaluation. Academy of Peer Services partners with us to help develop our learning modules. So I'm sure there are many of you on the Zoom today who are familiar with APS and the Academy of Peer Services and has gone through New York State certification training for peer specialists. And then Friends of Recovery and Partnership to End Addiction work with us to support our provider communities that support both people with both mental health and substance use disorder challenges. So they're going to be doing some work sort of after the training in terms of learning sessions specific to folks supporting those populations. So what are we going to do today? We're going to give you sort of the basic rundown of the New York State Psychiatric Rehabilitation Training Academy. We're going to give lots of opportunity for you to ask questions. We're going to give you an idea of what the training will look like, the time commitment, give you a tour of our learning management system, and then have an opportunity for some discussion. We're also going to give you an overview of what psych rehab is and what you're getting yourselves into in case you aren't quite sure. And we're going to give you a little bit of background on the project itself and how it's morphed over time. So I've mentioned these folks to you before. You got to meet some of them on the screen, but again, you know, we really could not do this work without all of our partners. This is a statewide training initiative. We have over 700 people in training now between the two cohorts. So that's not a small feat, and we could not do without these folks. So they are really, we wanted to recognize them and give you an idea of who you'll be working with. And Shay Pasco, of course, is our admin assistant extraordinaire. She's in the background behind the logo, behind the NYPERDA logo on the screen. She is, she's my go-to gal, and she helps run this ship, that's for sure. So if you don't know Shay, you will get to know Shay. All right, so I am going to turn it over to Amy, who's going to give us a little bit of a background on psych rehab and what you're really kind of going to get to know if you're new to psych rehab, or what you will, or the process of psych rehab that's pretty systematic, I would say, that you're going to learn about during the next 18 months.
Thanks so much, Daniela. So this is clearly just a snapshot of what's to come. As you start to get into your online modules and your in-person trainings and your consultation, the definition of psych rehab is going to become clearer and clearer for all of you, and how it gets implemented in your organizations is going to be the really fun part of it. So we thought we would start off just by giving you a definition of psychiatric rehabilitation, and then talk a little bit more about what the process looks like, and then ultimately what psych rehab practitioners are doing with the folks that are receiving psych rehab as a service. So psych rehab is really a set of interventions that are comprised of a mixture of the evidence-based practices in mental health, as well as some of the promising practices that have been adapted for this approach, and also any emerging methods that can be effectively tied together in order to provide this broader strategy for helping people to achieve their personal goals. And so it's a model of skill development that's used to support people who have mental health conditions and are looking to obtain or reuse different skills, supports, and resources that they need to successfully advance their own health, wellness, recovery, and goal acquisition. And that's defined by the person. So already there are some unique features that I think you may hear when we define what psych rehab is. It's a very person-centered approach, and it relies very, very heavily on a close collaboration with the person who's seeking services. So on the next slide, you'll see that we've included a bit of an image just to kind of show you sequentially how the psychiatric rehabilitation process unfolds. And I started by saying that it's a collaborative approach, but it's also a very structured process that's built on a variety of different, what you'll hear called technologies that guide the process. And the nice thing about psychiatric rehabilitation is that you may find very early on that you're using a lot of these steps in the process, but perhaps you haven't identified it as psychiatric rehabilitation, and you may not be calling yourself a psych rehab provider. But many of these processes will be familiar to you. So it really does begin with the psychiatric rehabilitation practitioner engaging people in a process that begins with the discussion of their readiness to participate. And it doesn't mean that if the person is demonstrating apprehension or what can be considered not very strong readiness to participate, that you tell them, it was nice to meet you, come back when you're ready. Psych rehab instead really helps people to develop awareness, readiness, and work with the strengths and motivations that folks have so that they can effectively participate in this process. The second piece in this, as you see on your slide, is the hard work of setting a life goal. And all of us have probably been through this process on our own and perhaps supported others. But this really requires a thorough exploration of values, preferences, and personal choices. And so the psychiatric rehab practitioner is helping the person to articulate an area of their life that they would like to make changes or improvements in, and that they find real meaning and purpose in working on. The next step is the psychiatric rehab practitioner orienting and supporting the person in identifying their strengths, the skills and the resources that they currently have available to them, and the skills and the resources and supports that they might need in helping to develop or access to reach the stated life goal. So again, I'm sure that many of you do this with folks day to day. It's really figuring out what's existing and what may need to be worked on. And then the last rung here is the skill and resource development. And so once those critical skills and resources are identified for the life goal, the person can then be supported in using the skill or perhaps developing the skill, finding the needed resources and supports, or perhaps developing them. And that's really the coordination that the psych rehab practitioner helps to provide. The next and last slide that I'm going to cover about psychiatric rehabilitation is one that you're going to see a lot of over the course of your in-person training, your online experience, and perhaps even in your consultation. So this is what they are referring to as the psych rehab house. And so we'll go back to the house lots of different times so that you get really familiar with the foundational parts, the phased-wise approach, and then the ultimate goal of psych rehab. So just for clarity, the foundation of psychiatric rehabilitation is really the person's willingness and preparation to engage in establishing and then moving toward a goal. So the different phases that you'll find psychiatric rehabilitation or rehabilitation practitioners working within are these considering, choosing, getting, and keeping phases. And the beauty of this little house is that there are some suggested questions that frame each of those phases that help you think about what the person might be considering and how you can best help them. So if a person is considering change or improvement, they may be asking themselves questions like, am I willing and prepared to begin thinking about this role and a change or improvement? In the choosing phase, it's really helping the person to kind of think more specifically about the life area that they're most interested in pursuing. And that would be living, learning, working, and socializing. And the goal period is about 6 to 24 months. So it can be somewhat shorter, or it can actually be a multi-phase goal that the person works on over a longer period of time. And then finally, in the getting and keeping phases, it's where you really get into the assessment of skills and supports that are critical for the goal, how the person can develop or access those skills and supports, and what the psych rehab practitioner can be doing to support all of that. And then finally, you see at the roof, the skills and support for success and satisfaction in the valued role. And so this is a way to reframe for yourself what phase you're in, what the person is currently working on, and what are some of the core elements that you should be considering when working within these phases. So like I said, I think that many of you are doing many of these things, and psych rehab is a way to put it all together. And we're hopeful that in this training, you'll be able to think about doing that and how it would look in your own environment. So I think that's what you wanted, right, Daniela?
Absolutely. Thank you, Amy. And it really does echo, we started the meeting with Steve Roman from OMH saying we're giving you more tools for your toolbox, right? So I think that, as a former pros provider and pros, well, not really provider, but former pros director myself, we did a lot of this stuff in our pros, but I can say that we did not do it in this systematic way. We did do it in this systematic way when I worked in a previous program before the pros, which was an IPRT, which probably none of you know what that is because it's from that long ago. But that was a little bit more systematic, and we saw more success and satisfaction and goal attainment in that program than we did at least when I was in pros programs or working in pros. So just to stress, you're going to get the whole soup to nuts version of this. You're going to learn every single bit of this from the consider room of the house. We're going to sort of build from the foundation, build the foundation and then build the walls and then run through each room of the house and make sure that roof is sturdy. And we're going to do that together for the next 18 months. And you're going to get the entire process. And along the way, we're going to do everything that we can to make really explicit links between what you're learning and what you're already doing, and how to enhance what you're already doing, and how to take this material and really bring it into what you do on a day-to-day basis. I want to stress from the beginning, and I'm going to say you heard it here first. We don't want you to wait till the end to start using what we give you. We want you to start practicing right away. And if that means going back, tomorrow and talking to coworkers and saying, I've joined this training academy and I'm going to learn this systematic process called psychiatric rehabilitation, although I don't suggest you actually use those words. Maybe you say a tool to support people to greater success and satisfaction. And just start talking about it. Get used to talking about it this way. You'll see that a lot of what we talk about in training really aligns with person-directed values, peer values, really kind of giving power back to a group of people who have been kind of involved in the mental health system or the behavioral health system for long periods of time that sometimes don't feel like they can have, success and satisfaction. And it's really about partnering with that person, building them up and getting them to a place of success and satisfaction. So with that said, I'm going to keep us moving along because I could go on forever about this. We, at the Alliance for Rights and Recovery, we're working really hard towards building a training program that addresses diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's really important to us. We are working as an agency on improving our own structure and infrastructure to meet some of these goals. We actually work specifically with Lenora Reed Rose at the Alliance for Rights and Recovery. So we're really pleased that she and Marie from CCSI have come on board with us in this initiative to kind of keep us honest and have us take a real good look at what we're presenting to you all. Rita does the same through the lens of peer services, and Luis is from Partnership to End Addiction to help us be inclusive of folks with substance use needs. So we do encourage you, Steve also said at the beginning, feedback is something that we're always looking for. Feedback is really important to us. Feedback is the reason that Cohort 2 has had so many changes, right? It's because of our experiences with the first round of training and our own feedback and the feedback we've received from your colleagues that we've made so many changes. So please give us feedback. And if you see something that you think is missing, let us know so that we can do better. So the next two slides are really just some testimonials from what folks in the first round of Cohort 1 training have been saying, just some different things from different parts of the state, from core providers, from pros providers, and others. So I'm going to let you take a look at this next two slides. All right, so this is really today, we're kind of just talking about what are you gonna take away from today? I hope that after we finish meeting today, you're gonna say, I want to do all of these things. I want to take the entire training. I want to do the whole thing. Because of the feedback that we've gotten, we've sort of spread it out. We understand that, the workforce crisis was already existent at the beginning of this training academy, and it continues to exist, and we are sensitive to that. And because of that, we've had lots of feedback groups and sessions, and we've reached out to lots of providers to get feedback. And people have said, a couple hours a month is really all that we can manage. So that's what we've tried to put together for you. This training calendar lives on our website. Kirk, if you wouldn't mind just throwing that website into the chat box. The NYPERDA website is specific to this training academy. It will give you all kinds of information about psych rehab. It'll give you, there's 2 resources pages you can feel free to take a gander at. Lots of great resources about psych rehab and psych rehab adjacent things. This training calendar also lives there. This training calendar also lives at or on our learning management system. And that's really where you're going to be most of the time, is that learning management system. That's going to be your kind of training hub. So if you have colleagues in the first cohort of training, the website, the NYPERDA website, is their training hub. That's where they go to register for things. You're not going to go there to register. You're going to register on the LMS. So a little bit of the history of the Training Academy. As Steve said, this is or was a 3-year training initiative, but funded by the Office of Mental Health. We have just gotten word that it will continue past the 3 years. So we're really excited about that, because that means we can continue to make improvements and continue to improve the learner experience for you all. But you see on the screen, there's about 5 different goals here. First and foremost, it's really about what we're doing is really about improving the lives of people that we support through our rehab services around New York State. And that includes providers in our PROS programs, our core and HCBS programs, adult HCBS programs, and our PRS providers in CCBHCs. I know that we also have some multi-service agencies that have other providers that are also going to be taking part in our training. Which is really awesome, because you kind of get the gift of seeing how it plays out in other types of services. And our psych rehab specialists will kind of help support you through that through technical assistance. We also want to increase the knowledge of our workforce in psych rehab, so that we can increase the number of psych rehab services that we're providing, right? And we want to increase the number of people that are providing services through the approach or the lens of psych rehab. Steve mentioned CPRP at the beginning of today's meeting. So CPRP stands for Certified Psychiatric Rehabilitation Practitioner. The CPRP is a national credential. It's a certification, not a license. But it is something that you will be eligible for if you complete 45 hours of training. So coincidentally, our training is 55 hours, so that you have a little bit of wiggle room. But we've worked with the credentialing body, which is PRA, the Psychiatric Rehabilitation Association, to create a pathway to the exam through this training. So we hope that we will sort of flood the behavioral health system of New York State with a lot more CPRPs. We're hoping to create the sustainable workforce of psych rehab practitioners. And Steve, if I'm not out of line, I think I can safely say, I know we're being recorded and all, but I know that OMH is working to get CPRPs to become recognized as professional staff in PROS programs as well, right?
Yep, that's correct. CMS is looking at that proposal. So those of you who work in PROS programs know that there's a requirement for a ratio of professional staff. So a CPRP would meet that professional staff and all of the kind of benefits that enjoys. So it also, we are really hoping this supports workforce development, career development. So not a secret anymore, Daniela.
Okay, well, it's being recorded now, so I guess the secret's out. Thanks, Steve. And the CPRP is a pretty expensive exam, actually. And so we're really lucky in that OMH has given us a large sum of money to pay for scholarships for that exam. So you'll be able to take that exam at no cost to you. Before I move on, I think is there anything in the chat box that I need to address? Britt or Kirk? I see a couple things pop up, but I have not actually checked them. How are we looking? Or if
I think
anybody
we're
has any
looking-
questions so far.
We're looking good. Just a note about the number of acronyms and yes,
Yes.
that's the world we live in, I think, but definitely a great point and something maybe we can look to continue to clarify as we move forward.
Yeah, no, that's a great comment, and we've heard it literally everywhere we've been in the last couple weeks. We're actually I think we're gonna develop like an acronym glossary and post it on the LMS just because there are so many. It's like a whole other language. So yeah, we'll do that for you. Okay, so this is sort of the bare bones minimum of what we're going to talk about as far as the training academy, and we're going to go into great detail throughout the rest of this afternoon in each of these. So you know it's a 3-year training initiative, or at least it was, but now it's continued to be funded. This is the second round of training that's begun. The first round began a year ago in January, and they're moving into the last phase of their training. It is a hybrid format, so there'll be some virtual as well as some in-person training, and we'll get into details about that. And then we've got various learning communities or communities of practice or learning sessions, however you want to talk about them, for practitioners, for supervisors, as well as leadership. You know, we don't have a ton of agency administration enrolled, but we think and we're hopeful that over time, as more and more people get trained, we'll be able to work more closely with agency leadership to really support the work that you're doing and keep this sustainable. We're going to talk a lot about CPRP scholarships and how to access those. We're also going to talk about continuing education. And then learning sessions and implementation support. This is something that we started last year with Cohort 1, and those are facilitated by your regional psych rehab specialists, Britt, Kirk, Steve, Stephanie, and Marissa. And what their job is to really kind of put all the pieces together and link it in a way that makes sense for you on a day-to-day basis, right? So taking something that you learned in the training, an overall idea, and then really getting into, now, how do I do this in my pros and get paid to do it? How do I bill for this, right? How do I put this into my workflow every day as a core provider, that kind of thing. So they're going to take what you've learned and sort of bring it into action with you. And you'll hear more from them about that a little bit later. So this slide is really just sort of an overview of how many people we have enrolled statewide. So right now we have about 400, a little over 400 folks enrolled in Cohort 1. About half of those folks are supervisors, and they represent 88 unique agencies. In our second cohort, so the cohort that you all are participating in, as of today, we had 271 people registered. We're collecting information on supervisors, so I don't have that number for you. And that actually is more than 68. It's about 71 agencies. And there's an overlap of about 46 agencies that have folks enrolled in both cohorts. So I think we're doing okay for our second year. And I'm hoping that, you know, we will continue to go strong. So your training will consist of 3 phases of training, totaling 55 hours altogether over 18 months. So phase 1 is 4 months long, and that's really about giving you information. We call it knowledge dissemination phase. So each month from February to May, you'll be provided with 1 webinar. Actually, it's a Zoom meeting. 1 Zoom meeting, an office hour that will follow that meeting where you can ask questions, and then a podcast that will sort of bring to life and give you a real life example of the information you heard in the webinar. You'll also every single month have a meeting with whomever is your regional implementation specialist. So if you're in the Hudson River region, you're going to have an opportunity to meet with Britt. If you're in Central New York, you're also going to meet with Britt. If you're in the Western New York region, you're going to have Steve as your monthly provider for that learning session. And then in the downstate region in New York City and Long Island, you've got Kirk and the staff from In Unity Alliance, who are Marissa and Stephanie. So that's about 10 hours of training total. So 4 months, 2 web-based trainings. So that includes the webinar and an office hour, and a little podcast, as well as a monthly learning session. Second phase, 36 hours. This is the biggest chunk. This is where like the meat of the training, right? So you've got 4 different learning modules. And if you remember that arrow that Amy showed us earlier with the 4 different steps to the process, each of those dots on that arrow will be your learning modules. Those are self-paced learning modules that you'll access through our learning management system. Each of those is going to be about 90 minutes in length. It'll be sort of a high-level overview of a topic. So, for example, the first one is around assessing readiness, partnering with someone to assess readiness to participate in psychiatric rehabilitation. Following that learning module, you're going to come together for a full day of in-person training. We will give you we won't give you breakfast. We'll give you coffee. We'll give you snacks. We'll give you lunch. If you're going to be with us for the whole day, we have to feed you, right? So we'll provide some food for you. That'll be a full day training, and that we'll give you worksheets, and we'll really get into practicing the skills associated with that phase of psych rehab. So your first learning module will be in June. Your first in-person training day will be in July. And we're going to hold at least 2 of those in each region, because we know that you have to work and that you can't shut your programs down to come to training. So you'll be able to stagger staffing. And we'll do that for 8 months. That will be phase 2. That's our skill acquisition phase. Following that is the final phase of your practitioner training, which is our development phase. We're going to kind of put it all together, and we're going to come together in regional communities of practice. So if you're in Long Island and you've been going to trainings with Paula, she's going to be running your 90-minute monthly virtual meetings, and we're going to have a topic for each of those meetings, and we're going to have case studies, and we're going to talk about what we're doing with the person on the screen. And hopefully you're going to be bringing your own examples from your own work, and we can pull that apart a little bit, tease it out, and give you some information and some advice on how to best work with that person using the tools that you've gained over the last 46 hours of training. And in between, we're going to ask you to practice. You've gotta practice this stuff. And I think we've done a good job of sort of making this accessible in a way that you can kind of take information and start doing it. You know, during the in-person training days, you're going to be doing a lot of practice, and you're going to be doing getting a lot of feedback. And we've actually moved from a role play to a real play kind of scenario, because we felt like it made things a little bit more real for people. We've all been through some kind of change in our own lives. You know, psych rehab is not a tool for people with mental health conditions. It's a tool for people, I like to say. So it's something that I think is approachable and we can use in our own lives. You can use it, you know, certainly with people that you support in services. You'll see if you're a supervisor or an agency administrator, it's something that you can use for your organization even, right? And you can provide, you know, all kinds of services through this lens. So we do ask you just to be vulnerable and just start practicing. We always say when we do these in-person trainings, like, you can't break someone trying to practice psych rehab. And you'll have lots and lots of support along the way. So this is just another version of what I just gave you. All these slides will be posted, so you'll have access to this information as well. Any questions? How's that chat box looking?
Looking good. There was just a repeat or a question around who's getting trained first, which we answered in the chat,
Okay.
like which practitioners, and then eligibility also for OMH psych centers that they're
Perfect.
eligible to get trained as well.
Absolutely. Okay, very good. So let's move along then. So that was a very long-winded way of saying that we're going to give you all these tools to really improve services, build a sustainable workforce. So again, just to stress, we really do understand what you all are going through. Many of us that are working in this initiative or on this initiative are either recently coming out of the same workforce or have been in that workforce before. Not to say that we understand where you are today, but we do try to keep really closely to have our fingers on the pulse. And we've got lots of folks to support you along the way. And that includes our people at the field offices. Many of the people at the OMH field offices are taking these trainings alongside you, so you'll see them there. Also our central office, right? I was talking to, where was I? Was I in New York? Yesterday, I was in New York City doing this live, and I said, it's very apparent that OMH has made a significant investment in psych rehab and providing training around the state. So I said that the train has sort of left the station already, and I'm really glad that you all are on board. Because I think there are still some people that are not on board, but certainly the train has left the station and we're cruising along. So I'm glad that you're all along for the ride with us. So now I am going to stop talking for a few minutes. I'm going to introduce you to our learning management system, Talent LMS. You may have already seen an email hiding in your spam folders introducing you to the LMS. Shay has gone ahead and taken everyone who's enrolled in the training academy and given you a login on your first, when you open up that email, and you click the link, you'll get taken to the LMS. And after we watch the video, we'll put the link for the LMS into the chat box. But you'll open it up, you'll add it to your favorites, and it will prompt you to change your password. And then you'll see you can already start enrolling in training. And we'll do a little bit of a summary afterwards. But I am going to go ahead and start the video.
Hi there, and welcome to NAPERDA Cohort 2. As you can see, I already have us on our website here. This is the LMS platform that we're going to be using for all things Cohort 2, and the URL for that is NAPERDA-rightsandrecovery.talentlms.com. This is where you'll go and log in to do everything for cohorts.
Oh, it stopped. Hold on.
So I'm going to go ahead and sign in to our test user here. Oops. There we go. So this is what it will look like when you first log in. All of the courses that you are assigned to and working on are going to pop up right here on the main screen. So I'm just going to show you a quick test course just to give you a general idea of how things work. You will hover over the course and hit that play button. If we were really watching this right now, we would click play on this video and let it play through, and then we would click complete and continue. As you can see, it lets us know that there's one survey with one question. And this is just generally asking, how would you rate the training? We're just going to say very good. How would you rate the trainer's knowledge? Very good. Submit. And it'll tell you when you completed it, what time, and what you selected. So we're going to continue. Now we're at a test. There's only one question on this test since it is a test. As you can see, here's a test question, and it's not really, pretty self-explanatory. You'll select your answer and then submit. Woohoo! As you can see on the screen here, we got our certificate, so you can really just download it immediately as soon as you get it. I'm not going to do that right now, though. I'm just going to hit the X. You can also see when you completed it and what your score was. Okay. Now we can click course completed. Again, you can download it. We're going to leave here. We can come to the top. And we're going to hit this little arrow. As you can see, we're back to the home page. And our test course has updated to say it's completed. So the next thing I want to show you is up on the top. We're going to go to my info here underneath learner. This is what it's going to look like for your profile, basically. It will have your first and last name, your email, your username, which will be your email. This password is left blank. This is where you would go when you want to update your password at any time. And down here towards the bottom, you can see we have license type and we have region. These theoretically should already be filled in for you on your account. When you get your accounts, you should receive an email to the portal, and it should let you know you should sign in. It should give you a temporary password. This is where you want to go, like I said, to update that password. You would just type in whatever you want your password to be, and then we would hit update user down at the bottom, and it would update that for you. To the right, you can see courses here. It just tells you the courses that you're enrolled in and what day you were enrolled on and what day you completed. Groups, this isn't really going to affect you much, but the groups that you'll be put in will be based on your region and the license type that you have. Branches, don't worry about it. Files, this is one that will be helpful for you. Files that are shared with you will be saved over here. As you can see right now, I have the Cohort 2 timeline. This is automatically shared with everybody once your account is made and will always be here for your viewing. So you can see, you can click on it and view it right in this little window here. You can also always download it right there and have it on hand in your computer. So the next thing I want to show you here is right on the right, we have a progress button. And click on that. So this is where you can see, self-explanatory, your progress, the courses you've completed. You can look at today, you can look at yesterday, the last week, the last month, the year, or a specific period of time. So it can really help you, as you're going through Cohort 2 to really see, how am I doing? How much have I done? How much do I have to go? I also want to point out when you're in this little progress section, not profile and progress, if you click the courses tab in here, I think that this is going to be super helpful for everybody because this course tab shows a little bit more information than the one under profile. As you can see, it tells you how many CEs it is worth and tells you the name of the actual trainer. And it also tells you if the course was online or in person. So this is helpful, whether looking back on you wanted to see how much, how many CEs was that one course worth, or even looking ahead, how much CEs is that next one that we're doing worth. You can also, again, super helpful when you're in the progress section, click on tests, and you can always look at, hey, when did I take that test for that course? Did I pass? How good did I do on it? Like, maybe I passed, but I want to see, did I get an 80% or did I get 100%? And how long did it take me to take that course? All of that information is right here and will always be here for all of the courses that you take. Same thing with the surveys, although surveys matter a little bit less to you probably. That's more for us to get some feedback. But the next tab on certificates, this will be super, super important for you. If for whatever reason, right, you completed that course and you thought you downloaded that certificate and maybe you didn't, and now maybe you're a few months out and you realize, oh crap, I can't find that certificate. You're gonna come, like I said, right over to this up top. You're gonna hit my info, you're gonna hit progress, and you're gonna hit certificates. And all of your certificates from all of the courses will always be here. You can view them in the window. Of course, this one's not working, but you can definitely download it right there. There's also a little LinkedIn button so you can share that certificate if you so want to. Badges, these aren't super imperative in terms of your CEs or anything. This is part of the gamification. As you can see, there's a little points section on the top here. This is just going to be a fun way to motivate you to continue through the courses, and have just maybe a little bit of friendly rivalry going on between the regions. And like I said, we may or may not put more specific related badges here, or we may just use these ones. But don't worry about that too much to begin with. The next thing I want to show is timeline. This really will just show, like, self-explanatory, the timeline, any kind of thing that you've been doing on the LMS. So, it shows that when I signed in, when I was added to a group, oh, I unlocked this badge, little things like that. Not super important. Last thing in this tab over here is the infographic. This is basically a more visual view of that progress tab, and it doesn't get quite as specific as the progress tab, but if you're more of a visual person, this might be more helpful to look at where you're at. So I'm going to come back to the home over here, and I did just want to say I was getting to that progress tab by going to the top, my info and progress, but you can also access that progress tab right over here on the right at any time. Like I said, and you can go through the same tabs, bring you to the same place. One other thing we want to look at here is the calendar on the right. There's nothing on this yet, but this is where we would see the in-person trainings, the webinars, things like that once they're assigned to us. And you would obviously register for the in-person trainings through the links as well as through Talent LMS itself. And that will all be expressed further to you when they come up. But essentially, this is where we'll be for Cohort 2. The only other thing I think that you should know is that there is a little messages tab up here on the top as well. We won't really be using too much of that. We might send notifications out, but it should get sent right to your email. But if for whatever reason you forgot one of our emails, you forgot your regional coordinator's email, and you have a question, you can always send something through the messages within Talent LMS, and it will get redirected to our emails. So just wanted to let people know on that. And with that, I think that is a good little tutorial. We will delve more into this, and everybody will become quite familiar with the NAPERDA Talent LMS. So we look forward to starting Cohort 2, and I hope you're enjoying the kickoff.
Okay. So I
Hi
need.
there, and welcome to NAPERDA Cohort 2.
Sorry about that. All right. So I saw there were lots of questions in the chat. So let's hear them. Can I ask Britt or Kirk to help me out with some of those?
Hi, Daniela. We do have some folks who state that they haven't received the login information as of yet.
Yeah, I saw that, and I'd like to address that before we go to this summary slide. So we know that, well, we actually get our, so as you know, we use McSilver to help us with registration on the back end of things. We actually just got an update today. So depending on when you were registered, you may not have been put into the LMS, but trust us and be rest assured that in the next few days, everyone who is registered, all 271 of you, will have an email hiding in your spam from Talent LMS welcoming you to the LMS. So if it's not in there, I would say by Friday, please do reach out to Britt, Kirk, or Steve, and we'll make sure that you get your logins.
Also a question here, are the online trainings asynchronous?
Yes, so all of the learning modules, well, you'll have an entire month to do the self-paced learning modules. All of the webinars, which actually this is a great question because I forgot to mention this when we talked about the webinars. All of the webinars and the office hours will be recorded. So they are live, but we will be recording them. So if for some reason you cannot attend the live version, you can watch the recording on the LMS. Anything else in there? So there's a question. I'm a supervisor. Do I not need to attend cohort 2? Well, Justin, my question to you is, I don't remember if you're in cohort 1 currently. But I would suggest, regardless if you're a supervisor or if you're a practitioner, I would encourage all of our supervisors to attend as much of this as possible. And yes, you're in cohort 1. So no, you do not need to come to cohort 2 trainings. Although I would say that if you want a refresher, you're surely welcome. And if you want to come to our in-person training days, that actually might be really helpful for you too, because they'll be a little bit different than what you're getting in the shorter training days that you're getting now. So to recap, if there are no other questions, Kirk.
I don't see anything else at the moment.
Perfect. So just kind of give you a little bit of a recap. And I took some notes while Shay was walking you through the LMS. You're going to receive an email from Talent LMS with your login information. We ask that you go on in as soon as you can, bookmark that web address. And I think somebody put it in the chat box. One of the staff put it in the chat box for you as well. You bookmark that, you'll update your password, and you're going to start registering right away. All of our first 4 months of training is already in the calendar. As a reminder, it's like a 2-step registration process. We also use Constant Contact, which is our way of communicating with you all. And Shay sends out reminders once or twice a month. Those tend to hide in your spam box as well. So I know an email went out today, I think, right, Shay? I know you're muted back there.
Sorry, say that again?
Did you send out a Constant Contact email today, or was that yesterday?
I believe that was yesterday.
Yesterday, yeah. So check your spam folders for an email from the Alliance for Rights and Recovery from yesterday, reminding people to register for today. That is the place or the way that we communicate with folks. So there's actually going to be another email coming out with a really short video clip on how to it's like a quick little tutorial around how to register for a training, because it is a 2-step process. Remember, we're also going to post that video in the file section of the LMS. All of the things, the PowerPoints, the worksheets from your trainings will all live in the LMS. So you're going to become really familiar with the LMS. I have found it to be pretty user-friendly, pretty intuitive. The gamification piece that Shay was talking about, we have not turned that on, although I'm a little bit of a competitive game playing person myself, and I'm thinking about turning it on and maybe doing like Rehab Academy like scholarships or gifts for like the highest badge earners in each region. Maybe we'll give away like 8 different Rehab Academy tickets for next November to folks that are participating in our training. We'll see how that works out. Shay also mentioned surveys. Each of our trainings has a survey or an evaluation. That's how we collect information. That's how we improve what we're offering to you. Please do be honest about those things. I promise you won't hurt our feelings. That's one of the, all of the changes basically that we've made are because of feedback that we've gotten. And then of course the continuing ed credits and the post test. So there is a short test. It's 10 questions for each training event. And you only need to complete that. Actually, that's not true. We ask everybody to complete that for 2 reasons. One is to collect or accrue hours toward your CPRP. If you don't do the evaluations and the continuing ed, the evaluations, we won't know that you're counted, right? And that's how we count your training hours. Also to get continuing ed credits. So you do have to have like a passing score of 80, and that's not an Alliance rule, that's a Office of Professions rule for quite a few licenses. So we've just kind of adopted that across the board. And you can take an exam or a post test as many times as you like. We're not gonna, I think it's set up for 2 or 3 times. I have to check on the back end. But in any case, if you do not pass one of those, it doesn't mean that you get kicked out of the Rehab Academy. Quite honestly, it means that either it's a bad test or we didn't do our job training you. So it helps us kind of also do some continuous quality improvement. Okay. Any other questions about anything you heard so far? We are absolutely not taking a break. We're going to keep going through. All right. Oh.
Daniela, Paula
Yeah.
asked in the chat if someone started cohort 1 and never completed, can they register for cohort 2?
Absolutely. Please do. Please come back. Yeah. Just either fill out the enrollment form on the NYPERDA website, or you can reach out to Britt, Kirk, or Steve, and we'll help get you connected. Okay, so we've seen or heard a lot of these questions over the last year and a half. And so we thought it was important to kind of put them up on the screen for you. So the what ifs, I call them, right? If you miss a training, they're all going to be recorded. If you want to learn more, or you feel like you're falling behind, or you have a real specific question, the short answer is, we have someone. The short answer to all of these questions really is we have someone to help you through and get your answers. Kirk, Britt, and Steve are basically, and Stephanie and Marissa are your funnels of information, right? Start with them. They can most likely answer your question. And if they can't, if it's something around getting some subject matter expertise and having some meetings, they will connect you to a subject matter expert. Edie, Mike, Dave, all of those folks, all of our advisors, they're all the people that kind of like will meet with you around specific training topics and help you answer questions. We'll do a lot of connecting the dots with you. If you change jobs, which I hope you stay in the field if you change jobs, but people have changed jobs throughout the academy, and we've been able to continue to be in contact with them so that they kind of don't fall off. Please do speak with your new supervisor at your new agency and let them know that you've been involved in this training and that you'd like to continue, and we'll sure work with you to keep you going. A quick note about that. When people came to the in-person trainings for the kickoff, we asked for information around continuing education or license, credentials and credit types that people are looking for. We also asked for contact information in terms of a phone number. So I know that Britt, Kirk, and Steve have sent everyone emails asking you to complete a short survey, 2 questions around ways of us that we can contact you. That's really important because if you do change jobs, or if if we can't reach you by email for some reason, we usually won't call someone unless we really haven't heard from them. But it helps us to kind of keep contact with you all. And the continuing ed stuff is really important to us because we want to be able to offer all of the continuing education that people are asking for. And we'll get into that in the next couple slides. Okay. So feedback, I think I've stressed, or I've tried to stress, how important feedback is. It's really important to us that your learner, your experience as a learner is as good as we can possibly make it. So, it sort of is really imperative to us that we get feedback, and we do that in a couple of different ways. So at the end of each training phase, we send out a really short survey. It's like 8 questions. And it takes like 5 minutes to answer. And that gives us feedback on all of the offerings collectively in that time frame. We also do an evaluation after every training that we offer, every event that we offer. And that's specific to that training event and how we can improve that training event. And then we also, from time to time, have these like live Zoom meetings where we get in real-time feedback from people. So we encourage you to participate in any or all of those. Certainly at the beginning of every in-person training, we ask for feedback, especially around the modules. The modules themselves have training feedback evaluations rather, so that we can get feedback on that. And yeah, I can't stress enough how important feedback is. Because again, it's really in the interest of continuous quality improvement. So program evaluation and tracking is another thing that we do. It's really important to our funders at OMH. It's really important to us to gather information. We do not ask you to gather any information. We just ask you to do things like register and do things like complete evaluations and ask for continuing education credits. Some of the examples of some of the things that we collect information on are, training satisfaction, the number of people that attend in person versus watching a recording of a webinar, how many people register for training events versus how many people attend those training events, certification and scholarships. And we do submit quarterly reports to our funders at OMH. We're happy to share those with anyone that is interested, and we share all of our evaluation information with all of our curriculum developers, our partners, and our advisors. Okay, so this is the part of the day where I get to turn it over to, I'm going to turn it over today to Kirk and to Britt, and they're going to talk a little bit about what their roles are. And I know let's see, how much time do we have? We have about 30 minutes left. So we're going to kind of pivot a little bit. Maybe, Kirk, maybe you could talk a little bit about the specific monthly TA, and then Britt, maybe you could talk a little bit more broad about the kind of SME things that you can sort of be the conduit to.
Sure thing. Sure thing. Thanks, Daniela. And just again, thank you all for joining today. So happy to see the number, in this over 70 participants. That's so great. We're excited to get to know you all. May take a while to attach faces to names, but we'll get there. So on the screen right now, you do see some emails from my team. If you're in the Long Island region, well, first of all, you can email me for either region. I'm covering both Long Island and New York City. But if you're in the Long Island region, you can also reach out to my colleague, Stephanie Bouillon, who is here today with us. And she's amazing. And if you're in the New York City region, you can reach out to Marissa Messiah, who is not here today, but is also amazing. So yeah, a little bit about those monthly learning sessions. I think they were originally born in Cohort 1, as we were flying the plane while we're building it, a little bit from the sense of, well, we're on a big Zoom call like we are now, and perhaps people might feel a little apprehensive to ask a question that maybe they think everybody else already knows, or maybe they're a little in a different place with psych rehab than they think everybody else is. So these provider forums are a little more intimate. They're broken down by region, so you have a chance in a group that feels a little more manageable to ask some questions that might apply specifically to your program, or might apply to the region in general, just general kind of trends or shifts or themes that you've noticed that might carry over across programs in your catchment area, or kind of the region's shared catchment area. So those group learning sessions are really a great chance for you to receive some mutual aid as well. I think, it's such a beneficial opportunity to be able to know that you're not in this silo by yourself. Or if you have perhaps one or two coworkers, you only get a chance to talk with them. So I think there's just an opportunity to say, hey, for instance, I'm a prose practitioner on Long Island, and I'm not sure what other people are doing, how they're responding, how are they integrating this into their workflow? What does that look like? And we're going to be a little structured with this as well, with some curricula developed by Boston University for these learning sessions, which I'm very excited about. So we'll be having, some formal avenues through which you can we can really hammer home the content, but also opportunities for you to bring questions that, are on your mind. Because I like to use this analogy of, say you saw a movie and you have one impression of it right after you saw it, but you sleep on it, and the next day you have a different feeling about it. Your feelings change, you think of new things. And so same thing applies, right? Say you go to an in-person training and you're there with all these wonderful people, and you're there with this great trainer, and the question that eventually is the most concerning to you doesn't come to you while you're there. It comes to you after a night's sleep, or it comes to you after you meet with a participant and you try something out. So that's really what we're there for, is that follow-up and that continuous, making sure we stay motivated collectively and we move forward collectively. So that's what we can hope to offer for you. So we hope you join, and please look for emails for those monthly Zoom sessions, and I'll pass it off to Britt.
Yep. Hi there. And I'm going to answer a question in the chat box really quickly because everyone will want to know. Someone asked about making sure, how do I make sure my time is recorded for finishing the training at another time? So the virtual stuff that you do is going to be recorded. So if the live time doesn't work for you, you can watch it in your own spare time. And that gets recorded by, you'll watch the video, and then afterwards, you'll fill out an evaluation. And when you watch the recordings, there will be some cue words throughout the webinars and the office hours that you'll need to then put on the evaluation. And that's how you get tracked for your time. And this person asked, do you reach out to me because they're in Central New York? And yes, so I cover the Central New York and Hudson River region. My contact information is there. I wish Steve was here to represent Western as well. So Kirk, Steve, and I, and Kirk's team, we support you not just learning this tool, but making sure that you are applying it to the work that you are doing in whatever service delivery model that you are practicing in, whatever role that you're in. And we have a pretty specific job in bridging that knowing doing gap. We work as a partnership with our SMEs, our subject matter experts. So we may be working with all of you and you're really embracing the tool and wanting to start looking at things like the policies at your program or your organization, and how can I make those into more of a psych rehab, heart and model, or looking at hiring practices, or even just like your environment of your program or your organization. That's where we call upon support, the subject matter experts. They take more of like a macro look at what you're doing, like a bigger look, and supporting with the integration of psych rehab into sometimes just your program, sometimes your organization. Yeah, and Danielle is putting in some examples in there. Supporting people with writing group curriculum at pros. Yeah, that is a really big one. Job descriptions, that sort of thing. I'm working with an SME with an organization right now that really is just wanting to ensure that their environment is more recovery, kind of psych rehab oriented, and they're in a pros, and so we're talking about that. Yeah, so reach out to me. No questions are too small. If you're in the Hudson River or Central Valley, make sure you go into your spam too and give permission to receive our emails, because they often hide in spam. Like good enough, Daniela?
Sounds good to me.
Cool.
So that was just a short little intro to kind of all of the things that Britt, Kirk, Steve, and our subject matter experts can help you with. I thought it was a good idea to kind of give you some real specific examples of some of the things that we're working on, just to kind of give you an idea and have you start percolating about, what are some of the things that I could maybe use a little extra help with once I get into some of this material. So scholarships and continuing ed credits. I saw there was a question in the chat box about evaluation. So we need everyone to complete an evaluation for everything in order to accrue your CPRP training hours. Remember, that's 45 training hours. And you'll get those hours by coming to our trainings. And we count those hours by counting your evaluations. So what will your scholarship give you, you might ask? It will pay for the cost of the CPRP exam, which is, it's over $500 to take the CPRP. So it's a good deal. You also get a prep course, which will help you kind of look at material and review material and get you ready to take the test. The CPRP is 5 domains. The Certified Psychiatric Rehabilitation Practitioner exam has 5 domains. There are 5 domains of CPRP. Some of them are things like assessment planning and outcomes, strategies that we use to facilitate recovery with folks, ethics. So as you can imagine, there is a whole plethora of various things that fall under each of those domains. So our training touches on something in each of those domains, but because it's only 45 hours, it certainly does not cover everything. So we would encourage you to take the prep course, although I am confident that if you go through the training, you will be in good shape to pass the exam. And then it also includes a practice exam. So that's really cool because you'll have an idea of what the test will look like. And I will tell you, we are actually in the process of working with PRA to, PRA is updating the exam. They're kind of, they're updating it to make it a little bit more, how shall I say this? It's an old test, okay? It's an old test and it's a national exam. And we don't have, New York State is kind of, I think, a little bit further ahead in the recovery movement than maybe some of the other states. And so PRA has recognized that some of the language on the exam, for example, is a little bit antiquated. So they're working to update that, which is really nice because it speaks to, you know, where we are today and the place that we're going with recovery and rehabilitation. So we're looking forward to a brand new exam. You'll have access to that. There was another question in the chat about CPRP, and it was asking kind of around like, what can you do with the CPRP? So interestingly enough, there used to be quite a large number of CPRPs in New York State, and there aren't anymore. But certainly in pros, the hope is that CPRPs will be counted as professional staff. To have a CPRP basically means that you have demonstrated knowledge and understanding of psychiatric rehabilitation, right? So I know in Pennsylvania, for example, there are a large number of CPRPs, and they run programs that are similar to what we do is in our pros programs here in New York State. So the thinking here is that CPRPs really do help kind of move the needle as far as recovery and help support folks to live a satisfied and successful life. Paula, you're a CPRP, right?
I
Do you
am.
want to add anything to that? Because I'm a new CPRP and I know you are not. So did I do a good enough job there, or can you add anything to that?
No, I thought you did an excellent description of it. You know, I actually got my CPRP before they had an exam. So that's how long I have had my credentials. But I do know that it's a great credential to have. It's national. It follows you wherever you go. It is not a state licensed credential, you know, just so you understand that. It's actually recognized internationally too. So
That's
highly
actually
recommend.
a very good point though, Paula, because it's not, you will not become an LPHA with a CPRP. I know that's another acronym, but LPHAs are licensed practitioners of the healing arts. So you cannot sign an IRP without an LPHA, for example, if you're not already an LPHA and a CPRP. So just want to make sure that people understand that if you don't already have a license and you get your CPRP, that doesn't mean that then you won't have to have, let's say if you're in a pros program, you won't have to have another signature of an LPHA for your IRPs.
So it's much like, you know, doctors go and get board certification, other professionals go and get extra certification and credentials that enhance your practice. I'm a licensed creative arts therapist. I am also a board certified registered art therapist. So those are credentials that are not specific to my license per se. But if I move to another state, I would have to apply for and become licensed as an art therapist or a behavioral health practitioner in another state. But my CPRP and my ATRBC follow me wherever I go.
Yes, awesome. Thank you, Paula.
You're welcome.
And then about CEs, continuing ed credits. So we offer continuing education credits for LMSW, LCSW, current CPRPs, LMHCs, MFTs, and LCATs through our training events. So all of those are at no cost to you. So while you're getting your CPRP hours, while you're getting your training, you're also going to be able to get free continuing ed credits for your current licenses. We are looking into CASAC. I know there are a good handful, at least, of folks that are CASACs. And we had CASAC approval for cohort 1. We're just waiting on confirmation that that approval transfers over. And if it does not, we will reapply, because I know there are at least 10 or 12 folks that are CASACs. And then if there's any other credential that we haven't gotten that you're looking for, please reach out and let us know. We do many of these in-house, so we're able to provide a lot of continuing education credit. And again, just a reminder, another reason those evaluations and those surveys are important is to get continuing ed credits. So those post-tests, those evaluations are related or linked to your continuing ed credits. And remember, you'll be able to get those like in real time once you finish that evaluation on the learning management system. And you'll have access to that certificate. So if or it's certification time or recertification time, and you haven't printed them or you need to access them, you'll be able to access and track your own progress through the LMS. Any questions about anything you've heard related to scholarships or continuing education? The only other thing I did not mention was when you're ready for the CPRP, when you're ready to get that scholarship to pay for your exam, we'll notify you by email saying, congratulations, Kirk, you have now reached a minimum of 45 training hours and you are eligible for a scholarship for the CPRP. Please complete this brief scholarship application. And the only reason we ask that you complete that scholarship application is so that PRA, the credentialing body for the CPRP, they need some information from you, right, for their records, for their back end. So all of that will happen in a very brief scholarship application, and then you'll take the test. The test is a Zoom proctored exam. It used to be at a testing center, just like other licenses and credentials, but since COVID, they've moved to a Zoom proctoring model. So we're actually going to be providing you with another webinar to kind of get you ready for the exam and give you an idea of what you need to get ready for the exam. Things like, you'll have to have your ID with you so that you can show it on a camera. You'll have to be in front of a computer with a camera because it is Zoom proctored and they do want to sort of see you throughout the exam. You have to have your camera on, things like that. So we'll get you ready for the exam. You'll pass, you'll have a prep course, you'll have a practice exam, and you'll do really well and you'll get your credential.
Danielle?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay.
Will everyone who qualifies for the scholarship get one? Yes, that is a great question, Catherine. So yeah, we've worked really, really closely. There's a whole lot of money in this contract specific to this scholarship, and PRA has made a promise to us that anyone that is seeking a scholarship will be able to get one. And I will also add that you won't have to take the test right away. You do have some time between when you get your hours and when you finish your prep course and take your exam. So you have about 8 months between when you finish to when you're taking the exam, so that you feel like we wanted to give you enough time to feel like you were prepped sufficiently and that you felt ready to take the exam. And that means even after the training academy ends. So even at the, after your cohort of training ends, you still have 8 months to sit for the exam. Again, my slides about integration and sustainability, I already gave you the speech about the train leaving the station. But psych rehab really can make an impact. And we're looking to make a huge impact on the mental health system, on the behavioral health system, that the New York State Office of Mental Health provides services under that continuum. So we're looking to make this big shift, and this big shift will include, improved outcomes for the people we support, and improved outcomes for the workforce, right? Because we know that when our folks are doing better, it makes us want to do the work a little bit more too. And we want to give you as much opportunity to continue that work. So once you finish the training academy, we don't want to lose you, right? I think that's really important to say. The academy will continue in some capacity. We're working with our partners at OMH to figure out what that will look like. But I will tell you for sure, it will include things like, continuing eds, right? You'll be able to get your CPRP, continuing education credits through the training academy, right? So you do have to recertify your CPRP every 3 years, and you've got to get like 45 hours of continuing ed credits. So why not get them here for free? We'll put new learning modules up every year. We'll have new training courses. We'll have sort of booster sessions on psych rehab. I'm hoping we can even do things like, have specific training tracks for various types of providers, a training track just on skill building. Maybe there'll be a training track on writing group curricula for skill building, things like that. So we're really looking forward to the future. We're looking forward to you joining us in this endeavor and staying on the train ride with us. So what's coming next? Your first webinar is called Using Psychiatric Rehabilitation to Support People to Develop Skills and Resources to Reach Their Goals. That will be led by Dr. Marianne Farkas, who is the director of the Center for Rehab and Recovery at Boston University. Sorry, Center for Psych Rehab, not Center for Rehab and Recovery, Center for Psych Rehab at Boston University. She will also be facilitating the office hour a week later. So your first webinar is the 21st of February, followed by the 29th, a week later, your office hour. We'll do a podcast in between, and you'll be able to listen to that as well. All of your training will happen through the LMS. So be sure to go back into that calendar and click on sort that calendar by all available events, and then you'll see 2 offerings for each month. You're going to hover over that, click the link inside, and you're going to register through McSilver for each of those training events. If you have any questions about anything related to registration, please do reach out to us. There are several ways you can reach out to us. You can send an email through the help desk, on the LMS, rather, through the messages on the LMS. You can email Britt, Kirk, or Steve directly. You can also live chat on the NYPERDA website. There's so many different ways for you to reach us. We do hope that we will hear from you if you should encounter any challenges with registration or have any questions after today's kickoff. I see lots of things coming into the chat, so I'm going to move us to the questions slide. Actually, I'm going to move us to the contact us slide, although I should have put everybody on one slide and I did not. So my email is here. Somebody have a question?
There's some chats about where they can access this presentation.
Yep. So we're going to post this on the LMS as well. So you'll be able to see the recording, or you'll be able to download the PowerPoint. And then I see Kirk, thank you for putting the McSilver help desk email in. If you have any challenges with the McSilver logins, that's the way to get login information or reset a password. And okay, so great. So Debbie, oh, hi, Debbie. Good to see you. So Debbie's already registered for everything for the webinars and the office hours. You didn't see the podcast because you actually do not register for the podcast. We have to link the podcast. Those are through our Spotify. So those will be
Thank you. Good to see you too.
Those will be up shortly. You're ahead of the game, Debbie.
I just did it now while you guys were doing it. I didn't want to forget
It's
how.
easy, right? It's so easy.
Yeah, it
We
is.
love it. Yes. Okay, let's see. I think I see another, just to confirm, you said for us who have not received the LMS, yes.
No,
So
no, if you haven't gotten the LMS, please email your regional coordinator so they can
Exactly.
email me, because everybody should be in who's supposed to be in. So please
Okay.
email your coordinator.
So you're all up to date. Yeah, and Chris, I know, Chris, you're from OMH, so I'm not sure that we have folks from central office all together. So I'm gonna probably reach out to Katie and ask her for a list of everybody that needs LMS logins from central office. So thanks for that, Chris. All right, I'm gonna move us to the last slide. This is Steve's email address. So you've got one email address for each of the upstate regions and one for the downstates. Any other questions before we sign off? We've got another 15 or 20 minutes or so that we left so that we can answer as many questions as possible. Let's see. I see something. Just wanted to. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Jorge. Good to see folks from New Rochelle from Choice. Yes. It's really wonderful to see so many providers from so many parts of the state that are so invested in this. It's very invigorating for us too. So we appreciate that. All right, I'm going to give the chat box 1 more minute, and then if I don't see anything, Kirk or Britt, did I miss anything? Looks okay. All right. Well, then if nothing else is jumping into the chat box, I'm going to thank everyone for joining us today. I hope that we will see you February 21st for your first webinar. And again, if you have any questions, please do reach out to all of us, or one of us rather, and we'll get your question answered. Have a great day, and we'll see you soon. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.
Farewell.
Thank you.
Thank you.